Alright, with the brand new edition of Nightmare Mode, there have been a ton of new updates, crystals, towers, and everything, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the towers. There are 4 in total: Refractor, War Machine, Shield Tower, and Behemoth Tank. I'll be reviewing every single one of these and seeing if they're worth the money. First off, we have the Refractor. The Refractor costs 14,500 crystals, and I'm putting him at 2 because he is really powerful bottom path. As you can see here, his top path is good, but the damage output is a little underwhelming because we did see a ton of exciting leaks of like him potentially doing 1,000,000 damage, which were obviously fake, but he is really good with the chain damage. As you can see here, he chains up to 3 and 4 max, but it just doesn't carry the tower as well as, say, the first place tower. But it does make for a super powerful DPS, and probably one of the highest DPS, no, the highest DPS tower in the game, but it's just not as optimal as some other ones. The bottom path is less expensive, but does have price. The price does increase depending on how many towers you place. But the main reason this tower isn't number 1 is because it doesn't receive any buffs. Now, the bottom path is a little bit of a different story. He does do a ton of damage, but he does multiply his damage. On level 3, he multiplies his damage by 1.8, which is not too significant. On the 4th level, he does 2.4% extra damage. This is crazy because we've never seen a mechanic like this, and plus, his damage is also substantially higher than the max level top path on the bottom path, level 4. But once you finally max him out, he is absolutely insane. It does cost 1,000,000 gold, no, 1,000,000 cash to max him out. But once you max him out, he has insane stats. He does 3.5x the damage over time, but does cool down. It has a cooldown of 14 seconds, and then a duration. No, it has a duration of 14 seconds and a cooldown of 22, which is a pretty long time. I would think that the Refractor should have been like a single hit tower that does that amount of damage until it locks onto a different tower, but I'm assuming that's where we're going to get that mechanic with the phaser in the new Tower Battles X TDX Part 2 mode. But overall, a really solid tower and will take quite a bit to grind for. At number 3, I have War Machine. This one costs only a little bit less than the Refractor at 13,550 crystals, and the War Machine is busted in many ways, but one of the most prominent ways is the ability to knock back bosses. I'll show you guys what that looks like in a little bit, but first we have to make sure we cover all the details of the War Machine. So the first one is it costs 1.25 billion to max the bottom path, which is absurd. You could get like a couple warships for that price. That's 175,000 HP and that's 10,000 HP, 10,000 DPS, which is absolutely absurd. But the downside is there's only one every like 4 or 5 minutes, and that is a huge red flag for this tower because yes, it is super strong, but once that thing dies, you're not going to have it for 5 minutes. The top path is good for prioritizing damage and just multiple units, but the War Machine can stack slams, and as you can see here, the Calamity gets sent like flying backwards, and because this one does not have any prioritization attacks such as like a slam, it cannot kill the War Machine, so it just keeps getting knocked back, and it can't do anything about it until it spawns its little goons. Once it does that, they're basically toast. As you can see here, once they die, they can't really push him back anymore, and they just can't do their job, which makes this a number 3 on our list. At number 4, unfortunately, we have Behemoth. I know this thing's absolutely insane. It should be like number 3 or 2 at least, but the fact that it's up here is because it costs 8,450 crystals. If it didn't have that insane like price tag, it would be so much better. It does have 70% collision resistance, which basically means if an enemy doesn't have collision resistance, it basically does 150,000 damage to an enemy, which makes this one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful spawner tower in terms of like raw DPS, not DPS, raw durability. But the fact that it can be countered with enemies with collision resistance, and the fact that it can't knock back enemies, and the fact that it is only a little bit cheaper than the 2 best towers in the game right now, just puts this thing all the way down to 4th place. I don't know, some of you may disagree with me, and I may be wrong, but this is what I think about the Behemoth. Now, the top path is good at prioritizing damage because it does more damage and has a huge range, which just makes the top path, and they're kind of on par with each other. Bottom path and top path do completely different things, and they're basically good for their own reasons. As you can see here, they basically just one-hit multiple frozen eradicators. And number 1, I have Shield Generator. It costs 2,850 crystals and gives towers 50,000 extra shield points. This can be absolutely generational for Nightmare mode, because all of our towers always die during Nightmare mode, and as well as Endless mode, which makes this number 1, and it's just overall the best, and it only costs 2,850 crystals. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to subscribe, and yeah.